Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to the Asia Tech Podcast. Today, we have two smiling guys. We are joined by Sam Fromson, a co-founder and the Chief Operating Officer at YuLife, and Stephen Barnham, the Global Chief Digital and Information Officer at Dai-ichi Life Holdings. Gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this today. How are you two doing?
Great. It's really fantastic to be here, Michael.
We're doing absolutely wonderfully, and it's a pleasure to be live with you guys.
It is a pleasure to have you both. Stephen, I want to start with you. From a Dai-ichi Life perspective and a Stephen Barnham perspective, maybe you can just outline the philosophy around the relationship and the investment with YuLife.
Sure. So we are a 120-year-old life insurance company, dominant in one of the world's most mature insurance markets, which is Japan. And we are looking forward to the future in over the next 10 years or so. We would like to be a global leading insurer. And so we need to find growth. And in our domestic market, where we are dominant, it's a little tougher to find growth. And so one of the areas that we seek is looking at new business models. And as we look and explore our industry and think about those new business models, we start to look at earlier stage companies who are reimagining our industry. And so we have an innovation lab here in London, and it was through that relationship that we met the wonderful founders from YuLife. And YuLife are actively reimagining our industry. They are rethinking the new business models, and we think through our relationship with YuLife, it will help us to find that growth to becoming a leading global insurer. So it really provides kind of part of the missing part of our strategy, the growth part of our strategy.
Stephen, that's fascinating. Sam, can you just talk to me as well from your perspective is how you are reimagining insurance? What is YuLife and what are you guys doing differently?
Thanks for asking. That's a great question. Look, insurance is one of the biggest industries in the world. And I'm preaching to the choir here. You guys are the InsurTech podcast of Asia. You know this inside and out. Insurance is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And at the same time, for consumers across the world, there's low levels of trust. People rarely, if ever, engage with insurance as a value add in their daily life. And at the same time as that also, there was such an acute well-being crisis going on across the world. And that was true before COVID. That was true, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago when we started thinking about this business. Right. But now more acutely than ever, people feel that need for improving, being healthy and well on a daily basis. And insurers are so well placed to do that.
Yeah.
If you can help someone live a longer, happier, healthier life, it's good for them as an individual. It's good for their community, for their company, for their family. And ultimately, it's good for their insurer because they're a lower risk. And really, that's what we set out to do, is to use insurance as a vehicle to improve people's lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if I could just add to that. Yeah, part of our thought process is we want to be lifelong partners with our customers. And through our relationship with YuLife, we think that just supports that.
And it was amazing. I remember sitting down that first meeting in that massive boardroom in Nomura with 29 people in the room. And then, the Dai-ichi team, the Dai-ichi execs started speaking, and I really felt such a deep alignment in terms of the mission. Happens to be we've been going about it in different ways and maybe with the different sizes of the team and different stages of our business. But that alignment of goals and alignment of mission felt incredibly strong when we began our relationship 18 months ago and still feels that way now.
Yeah. I have to say I've worked with a number of wellbeing companies. I've been involved in digital health or however you want to refer to it. And what I feel is really special from the minute I met all of the founding team from YuLife, but also the experience that you've built for the customer. It's just so attractive. It's appealing. It's a place you want to keep going back to because it's encouraging you to do things you love doing. And I've been using the app for just over 6 months, and it's really compelling. And I look forward to using it, and I look forward to engaging with it. And I thought, wow, if we can replicate that with our customers, so many life insurers have struggled with engagement with their customers. And as Sam just put it so well, also encouraging them to lead healthier, longer lives as well. Wouldn't that be fantastic? And that's really, I think, part of the key to our partnership.
I want to ask Sam another question as well. As you're building this relationship, right, with an aligned insurer, in Japan. After building this business outside of Japan for a long period of time, in what ways do you have to think differently about the business model that you have, or just the way that you engage with customers? You should talk a little bit about the gamification and the engagement, because that's a big part of this, right? We talk about it a lot in our shows. How do you get companies to be engaged with their customers? So talk about that, and then talk about how Japan's different.
For sure. So look, just start off. What does YuLife actually do on a daily basis?
Yep.
You purchase YuLife as a company, and all of your employees then download the YuLife app. And that's really the portal into your entire insurance experience. It's not just a wellbeing app. It's not just an insurance app. It's an app that brings together that unified experience. You get rewards for building everyday healthy habits, for walking, for mindfulness, for meditation, for exercise classes, you name it. And those link back to your insurance policies. The more insurance policies you have, the more you're saving into your pension, the better protected you and your family are, the more rewards that you can earn on a daily basis. You can set your beneficiaries, etc. It really brings together that integrated experience between insurance and well-being. We've thankfully, been testing this and learning and building and, reaching the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in the UK. And I think London's an absolutely incredible city to test something like this, because, London is probably one of the most intensely multicultural places in the world. Yeah. And we do have users from every demographic, just by dint of the fact that London is a city that, you meet 10 people, maybe one of them was born in London, right? It's not, right? So that has definitely given us a testing ground for working with people of different backgrounds and different ethnicities and different cultural backdrops. Our team as well, we've got Asian and Indian and people from all over the world who have really fed into the design philosophy. So I think from the offset, we've been thinking about this from a global basis without boxing ourselves into one cultural mindset. That said, of course, going into any new market is difficult and challenging, and you can't underestimate the nuances that are required. And that's why we've been thinking very carefully about our Japan launch, going live with today, which is very exciting. I know this is not going to be shown live, but we are incredibly excited to be going live with our test cohort of users in the Dai-ichi headquarters.
That's right.
In Japan.
Yeah. Very exciting.
And we'll be running that for a few months and really learning the cultural variances. We've obviously worked with careful translation efforts was the first step, but that's just a baseline, and really experiencing how Japanese consumers use and interact with the technology. Our initial 2-month pilot with the Innovation Lab in London, I think fortunately it was incredibly successful, and we learned a lot about the types of nudge notifications that are acceptable across different cultures, and the types of incentives that might really get somebody to take that first step on their well-being journey. And we're coming at it with such enthusiasm and passion and a dedication to really learning and making this fit for an incredibly important market.
How will you lean, and Stephen, maybe you can answer this too, right? But how will you two work together, maybe lean on the experiences and even all the people that work at Dai-ichi Life in Japan to get a better understanding about what those nuances really are, and then how the product may or may not need to get adjusted to adapt to that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Michael. And when I first looked at the experience that YuLife is offering, I was struck by a couple of things. The first thing is how simple it is and how easy it is to navigate around the app. And within minutes, you get it. You absolutely understand how to use it is the first thing. The second thing, and you may think this is trivial, but coming from a Japan perspective, I think, Michael, you'll appreciate this. I thought it was really, really cute. Now, people may dismiss this, and if you know Japanese, cute means kawaii. And this concept of cuteness in Japan is so critical to the customer experience. And so I thought between the simplicity of the environment and this cuteness factor, I thought, wow, this is it. Because us insurers have been spending so much time trying to crack this customer experience. We've labored over complicated apps that are just packed full of complicated functions that are very difficult to navigate through. And I'd navigated through this app in a few minutes. So it's great. So I think so that was that initial impression that I got. Oh, this can work in Japan. So then I took it to Japan, and almost any meeting that I talk about innovation, I'd say, you know about our partner, YuLife. They said, oh yeah, I've heard about that. Can I just demo something to you? And I demo it. They say, oh my God, that doesn't look like an insurance app. That looks like a game. Yeah. And I want it.
Awesome.
So it was those kind of responses. Yeah. And then I did a bit, and it was a small cohort. And I go around and just test it and see what were the first words that people came into people's mouths. And they would say, oh my God, that's so cute. And this is very unique to Japan. Yeah. So in terms of what needs it to change, yes, we've done the translations, but the look and feel has already, I think, from the short testing that we've done, had a very positive response. And that's where I thought, yeah, this can work.
That's amazing.
And this can really help us in our journey to find growth and reimagine our industry.
And you spoke about something that I think is so dear to our hearts. If you try and take from a customer, they feel it instantly.
Yeah.
And insurers, and I love insurers and I love working with insurers, but often they're coming from a mindset of, okay, this is what I need to get from the customer in order to underwrite them, in order to look after them. And maybe with the customer's long-term best interests at heart, but in the short term, it feels like a taking experience.
Yeah.
And you feel that. Yeah. And our fundamental philosophy is to give more than you take in every interaction. Yeah. For the customer to feel a joy of interacting with you. And that technology that's underpinned by joy, that's underpinned by a desire, underpinned by feeling over function, is what's always sat at the heart of our design philosophy, at the part of our commercial philosophy.
Yes.
Working with partners. We've never said we're going to build everything end to end ourselves, own it all, dominate the world as a standalone entity. No, we've always sought to work with great partners. Yeah. And we've built that basis in the UK, and it's exciting to do that in Japan now.
Yeah.
I love this idea of giving first. We do it in our business as well. I think about it all the time. I never ask for anything in a first meeting ever. I'm always trying to give something first. I spend a lot of time, and I'm curious for both of you, because you're both sides of the table here. I'm curious how both of you look at this idea of not just the customer experience, right? But there's another side of this, and that's the partner experience. When you work with your partners, like what kind of philosophies do you have when you're working with partners as well? And as you build out those partnerships in Japan, what's the philosophy on how to build out great partnerships? Because that PX, that partnership experience, really matters.
Yeah. So I think it's got to be a win-win relationship. We are very long-term in our view, and we think that developing a product and an opportunity like YuLife in Japan is going to take a little bit of time. Yeah. But we're very patient. And so I would say I would characterize our relationship with our key strategic partners as long-term, and it has to be a win-win environment.
I mean, that's really deeply aligned with what we're, the blessing of being a private company is that we're thinking about what we want to build for the long term.
Yeah.
And we are committed to that vision of using insurance as a force for good, of changing an industry, of creating something that improves the lives of millions of people. And if you want to do that for the really long term, you can't think, okay, what am I going to... You've got to be rapid in your thinking and quick in your iterations and moving at pace, but all whilst keeping a long-term vision in mind and not getting distracted by the day-to-day rubbish that clutters your desk. Got a nice clean desk here, which I quite like. But, not cluttering your desk and keeping that long-term mission in mind and finding great partners who've got, the balance sheet, the capital, the ability to really work for the long term is essential.
Yeah. And I think there's another thing around synergy as well. I think the energy, the new ways of working, and even how the YuLife team think is very unique and different for us. And if you add that to, yes, our balance sheet, but also add it to the incredible customer base we have. Right. We have some of Japan's major corporations as our customers. And I think when you bring the two together, Dai-ichi and YuLife, I think the result is just going to be explosive.
We're really excited for that. One thing that speaks to the heart too, because the customer relationships are ones that are built on long-term trust. And I think many insurtech startups, and we've got incredible peers in the industry and people are doing wonderful things, but it's quite hard when you're looking after someone's life, looking after their health, to build that trust initially, because people are nervous of working with a new company. And we've always found, working with our partners that we do in the UK, working with Dai-ichi in Japan, please God, is that you have a basis of trust to work from. And if a customer is saying, well, I know that you're going to be around in 5, 10, 20 years to pay claims, then I'm excited for all the other things you can do for my life. And then I'm excited. That gets you over the threshold, which then allows you to really make that long-term impact. Because you've crossed that initial hurdle of, okay, I'm willing to do business with you.
I want to talk a little bit about gamification, if you don't mind. Maybe you can give a couple of specific
My favorite
examples.
Topic.
Yeah, and why you actually thought this was a good way to go for the engagement lane. And then I want to ask you something when you're done doing that too about another step in the gamification process. But go ahead. Just walk me through how it works and why it's so engaging.
Happy to. Look, there's myriad different games that we all play in life. Sometimes we know their games, sometimes we don't. You can think that maybe starting a career in a big industry, it's a game, right? How do you progress through it? How do you tick the appraisals? How do you make sure you build alliances? Gaming isn't just limited to teenagers sitting with a hood over their head in a darkened room anymore. We really appreciate that games are an everyday part of life. And our philosophy of games has been to make it something joyful and accessible. You've got super complicated games that appeal to a niche audience, but the games that have got most widespread appeal are the ones where the mechanics are accessible to anyone and where it's something that's fun and joyful to engage with. What's the most successful wellbeing game of the last decade? Do you know what that might be? Most successful wellbeing
the most
game
successful
of the last
wellbeing game of the last decade. No idea.
Take a guess.
Not Brick Break.
Pokemon Go.
Oh.
Most successful wellbeing game of the last decade, getting people walking to catch Pokemon.
Yeah, fair
enough. The breadth of usage that got, the impact that had on people's daily habits, far outstripped any other wellbeing game that has been created. And that's about taking a mechanism. It's not overtly about wellbeing.
At all, actually,
in any way. And ditto the YuLife experience, we've built it in a way that we've got a currency of wellbeing called UCoin.
Okay.
And you earn UCoin for building everyday healthy habits. Things that you might be doing anyway. We might provoke you to do them a bit more. Be that just a walk to the tube station in the morning or to the metro or the subway in the morning. Be that winding down with, instead of scrolling TikTok on your phone, to 5-10 minutes of meditation in the evening so that you can get a good night's sleep. And then once you've built those, that kind of extrinsic motivation of those, okay, I'm earning UCoin for doing these things, amazing. We can then bring you deeper into the experience and take you on challenges. And you can earn extra UCoin for pushing your step count that bit higher, or for walking faster over a 10-minute walk, or by doing a fitness class, be it like a HIIT session at home, or doing brain training with our Sudoku that we've built in the app that people do every single day. And it's about taking somebody who's on their well-being journey and making it easy and delightful for them to push that bit further and to make a consistent habit out of it.
So a lot of people are wearing Apple Watches and Fitbits and stuff like that. Do you integrate with those things as well?
Of course. So we integrate with any device that can collect your well-being data, be it just the pedometer on your phone, Google Fit, Apple Health Kit, through to your Garmin, through to your exact Apple Watch, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I think what I really love about it is they have a leaderboard. Which can be, I suppose, split by company if it's a smallish SME, or by department, and you can challenge each other. So you can challenge walking, who's going to walk the most in the day, and it's a great way actually to build teams. And especially when your teams are not all in the same place, and when some are working from home, and it's fun. And you can send messages separately to each other. Oh, you're walking more than me, and it incentivizes you to walk more, but it also brings teams together around a fun topic. So I found that really fun and
I'm really glad to hear that.
Helpful.
And the thing that people, why does anyone care about UCoin in the first place? Because you can wager UCoin, right? Yes. So it's also got another layer to it as well. UCoin doesn't just live in the app. That then correlates to the real world. You can cash in your UCoin to do good, to plant trees, to clean the oceans, to donate meals to charity. Or you can cash in your UCoin for self-care things, be that Amazon vouchers or trainers from Nike or whatever it might be. And so that UCoin correlates to something that really gives you value every day in your life.
There are so many questions to ask you, Sam. Is the UCoin then part of affiliate program somewhere else? Is how does it work mechanically? I'm really curious about this, right? So I earn this UCoin.
Lives.
So I earn this UCoin, right? It's sitting on my phone, probably in a wallet inside of the app, right? Fair enough. But if I want to turn it into something like an Amazon gift card, what's the relationship with Amazon that has to exist to be able to get that done? Or is that not necessary?
No, so we own all of those relationships, right? So we run our own networks of rewards partners, and so we've got an exchange system where you can cash in your Ucoin and seamlessly get Amazon gift cards straight into your Amazon account. Or you can, we've got bespoke relationships, or you can get 40% off your Garmin device. What we've tried to stay away from at the moment is incremental benefits, things that give you like 1% here, 2% there. We want Ucoin to mean something that actually makes a difference, and getting something back that gives you that real feedback of loop of like, oh yeah, I really got something out of that. Amazing. It made a difference to my day.
What I also love is there's a hierarchical mechanism, so you can go up through the forest levels and the ocean levels. And then when you look at your colleague, they're like ocean level 32 and I'm forest level 41. So then that incentivizes me to go out for another short stroll or ride a bike. And
we've built a whole law around the development in the app as well, of moving through each 7 levels, you unlock a chest, and every 49 levels you can enter into a new world. And then you progress through the 4 worlds, and then that takes you to a whole new dimension after you've unlocked those. And each stage, there's more things, more richness to unlock within the experience. Don't want to give away all the Easter eggs that are hiding for the people who are yet to engage.
I really want to talk about this gamification a little bit more, right? Because Stephen mentioned this thing about team building, about company building, about department building. I think it's super cool. In my head, it automatically gets even bigger. And I think maybe once a year, there's like YuLife Olympics. Do you know what I mean? Where people that aren't from the same company, I'm not kidding though, where people that aren't from the same company, but are in like the same industry or in the same vertical, all those people get together and compete with each other. So it's not just inside one company, but it's like API to all the companies that are there. And then they get to compete as well. And it would be neat, I think, if you had like a physical challenge where everybody that was on it, the top 10 people, it would give them an incentive to like do more. And then at the end of the year, they go to the YuLife Olympics. And who knows, like win a trip to the Bahamas or something like that. That seems kind of cool.
We did run a digital version of that last summer, actually.
Go for it.
We ran the YuLife Olympics for companies competing against each other.
I love it.
And we ran digital versions. We didn't yet create a physical manifestation of that. So maybe on the rooftop of Dai-ichi's headquarters in Tokyo, we can do that. But we ran a digital version of that where companies can compete in teams. And different companies had different targets set, and that was something that really brought together businesses from different industries.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. Yeah.
I got to
love that across the industry groupings. We can do it within our organization, across departments, in a friendly way, competing with each other.
Yeah, like you have the
Tokyo Olympics 2026,
the games department. It'd be super cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this.
YuOlympics.
Exactly.
YuOlympics. So Stephen brought this up earlier as well. This whole idea of kawaii cannot be like overestimated. You cannot exaggerate this enough. It's really important. Yeah. And in the context, I know you have your own gamification team, and clearly they're doing something right. But have you considered at any level collaborating with because Japanese game companies, like you said, are pretty amazing. Do you think you could collaborate with them too, not just on providing them the wellness benefits and stuff like that, but even from a development partnership to help build gaming style stuff for the YuLife app?
Certainly something fascinating to consider. And, as we're beginning this journey into the Japan ecosystem, I know that you guys have got very close and deep relationships with some of those big gaming houses. We'd be a pleasure to explore.
Yeah, it's something we hadn't considered. But what I love about this relationship is everybody has such an open mind. And so, really what we're going to do together and what we're going to explore is really unlimited.
Yeah. I just want to say from my perspective, I've known Stephen for 30 years, okay? And we both come from a corporate background. No, but I think it's really important to point this out. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. It doesn't seem strange, because we both worked at Morgan Stanley together, and Stephen then had a banking and very long and very great insurance career. But it doesn't seem strange to me at all to have the two of you sitting in the same room. I do feel like there's a real meeting of the mind, but it shouldn't be this easy. I mean that. Stephen said earlier that Dai-ichi Life is an old company, 120-something years old. YuLife is what, 5 years old? I don't know the exact number.
We're coming up to our, I think, 7th birthday, actually.
7th birthday. Happy birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I really get a sense that there's all this chatter in the industry and on podcasts everywhere where like big insurance companies don't know how to deal with startups and startups don't know how to deal with big insurance companies. And I think the two of you have just blown that out of the water today.
From the very first time we met with Dai-ichi, I have felt quite a different experience to working with other insurers. And I must admit, I'm not going to pretend, like when I first got a phone call saying, do you want to meet with Dai-ichi Life, and I did a bit of quick Googling and I saw 120-year-old, one of the largest insurers in Asia. I thought, okay, it'll be a nice meeting, but the likelihood is it'll be just that. It'll be just a meeting. I didn't really expect it to be the beginning of a long-term partnership. But from the first interactions, the thing that I really have felt that's really characterized the relationship is one of real mutual respect and understanding and an awareness of our respective strengths and differences, and a real willingness to work with those and to enhance those rather than, and again, every insurer's got its own dynamics, and not to throw shade on anybody, but some have a bit more of a command and control approach, let's say. Certain insurers who will remain nameless that we've spoken with in the past have said, yes, we can work with you, but these will be the terms and we know best and it's going to be in this way and you're going to do it like we say because we've been around for X numbers of years and have this balance sheet and you're going to do it as we want it. And that's, that doesn't feel the type of people that we want to build long-term constructive relationships with.
I've recently joined Dai-ichi. I'm now in my 7th month. And I think the fact that they have invited me to join their leadership team, yes, I've lived and worked in Japan a long time and I have experience in the Japan market, but to have a non-Japanese at such a senior level, I feel really privileged. And I think this is indicative of the kind of forward-looking thinking that the Dai-ichi leadership has, and that's one of the reasons why we are able to so positively progress this relationship. I think there is something different going on in the Dai-ichi leadership team, and we realize that we need to do something to reimagine our industry. We've had a great run up to now, but what has got us here is not going to get us there as we look forward to the next 10 years. So I'd like to think that we have a very open mind, and the possibilities that we have with YuLife is just immense. And we'll continue to keep that open mind.
Stephen, I want to ask you about this too. You did mention, without mentioning the number of years, how long you've lived and worked in Japan. I mean, the cat was out of the bag when I said that I've known you for 30 years, so I apologize for that in advance.
It's kindergarten, right?
Exactly.
He's in his mid-30s now, exactly.
Because it's already out there. But I do want to say this as well. It gives you a unique perspective on what does and doesn't work in a Japanese market that's not static, is dynamic, has changed over the years, maybe not changed as much as people would like, but has changed. Can you talk maybe about, just when you think about this market expansion for YuLife, just a few things that may be slightly challenging? I don't even want the solutions to it, but just things that make the market different and that are slightly challenging that because you've been there for so long, you feel like you have a unique perspective on.
Sure. So I touched a little bit on some things which some people may think are frivolous in terms of the customer experience. Clearly, getting that customer experience spot on is critical, and I feel we have, and we're in the middle of testing that. But I think there's also something to be said about trust with the customer, and building that trust with the customer takes time. It just simply takes time, and you can look at any number of examples with this, whether. And some people say, much of the Japanese finance industry was late to the whole digital transformation gig. However, once they got that, then it was like it started to move ahead and accelerate so quickly. And I think similar to where we're going to be taking our relationship with YuLife, it's almost like a snowball. And you've got to get that, push it up to the top of the hill. And once you get it, and that requires a lot of us partnering together, working as a team, and it's going to be tough. There's no doubt about that. But I'm confident that we can do that together as a team. As I mentioned, using the synergies that I talked about earlier to get that snowball to the top of the hill. But then after that accelerative effect, that's what we want to get. And you can see it on so many other things for adoption of digital, et cetera, across the market. But it's that initial effort, and we're in that phase right now, just getting up the hill, and that's there's going to be some difficulties there, no doubt.
And you spoke about the relative lack of digital penetration or immaturity, so to speak, of the tech ecosystem or the startup ecosystem in Japan. And that was a point that really resonated with me. Japan is the third largest, top of economies in the world, definitely of insurance markets in the world. Yeah. But, the number of insurtech startups in London, plus or minus about 2,000 insurance startups in London, plus or minus 100 in Japan. Yeah. I don't know if that sounds about right to you. Those are the numbers I saw on a piece of research. So on the one hand, that's, there's a lot of barriers to overcome and we've really got to work hard together to change it. But it really also, to me, belies a massive opportunity, because if we can together get in on that party at the earliest stages of the development of a insurtech ecosystem, I really believe we can create something transformative.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make a point that both of you have said, but I want to make it explicitly now, and then I want to ask you why. You both use this term long-term so many times, and it appears to me, and Sam hinted at this earlier in the conversation without saying it explicitly, that most startups are in a hurry, right? They're in a hurry. They feel like they're running out of time, and maybe they are, to be fair. How have you been able to take such a long-term view? And I think you have to have that from the beginning. You can't start like YuLife on a, you know what I mean? You said 7 years, so 2016, and think, oh my God, we really have to rush now. It has to be from the beginning. How hard was it for you to take that long-term view, and why did you decide to do that when most other people around you were just rushing?
There's a difference between urgency and short-termism.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I hope and I believe that our team has maintained a sense of urgency and a real desire and drive to achieve, with a counterbalance of a long-term philosophy. Yeah. And it's a tricky dynamic, and you've pointed it to the heart of something which really sits quite maybe to the dynamics of our founding team as well. Sammy, who's our CEO, my co-founder, is someone who has always had this deep long-term belief and vision for change in the insurance industry. Yeah. And that's come from his background, and that's his philosophy as well, his personality as well. He's a big thinker and is not somebody who's about just what's the tactical moves on the next 2 days. He's thinking about the big picture over the next 2 to 20 years. And that kind of counterbalances with others in the team who are very on it with, okay, great, how do we translate that into a series of short, medium-term tactical steps? Yeah. And so I think holding that dynamic, and it hasn't been easy, and there's been times when we've really, fought that tension out in a meeting or in a boardroom, or, thinking about how we hire, how we invest, which regions we invest in, which partnerships we invest in. And those things are in a natural, healthy conflict, I think, almost every day of our lives running this business. Mm. And if it were otherwise, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are now. And
I love that word, urgency.
Maintaining that tension is essential, right? If you let it swing to one side or the other, you fall apart, and there's nothing wrong with that friction and that tension. In fact, it's an incredibly healthy dynamic.
Yeah. So okay. I agree with everything Sam just said. If I could just add to that, so we have this sense of urgency. How do we do that within a massive 120-year-old life insurance company? We set up a separate team to manage through the whole YuLife project, and they're taken out of their day-to-day and they're focused on the success of YuLife in Japan. And we've got some fantastic individuals in that team who are working really closely with the YuLife team. In fact, it's all just one team. And that's the speed element of it. The longer term element of it, I think Sam touched on it earlier. Our customers want to feel that we're going to be around in 10, 20, 30 years' time to be there for them. Yeah. It's a fundamental part of our strategy to be a lifelong partner for our customer. So that's the longer term element, and how we balance the two out. We feel we have some time. We've set ourselves some pretty large goals that we're going to be achieving over the next 3 and 7 years as we become a leading global insurer. So we have some time, but we need that sense of urgency. And I think we're working out how to get that balance right.
Sounds great.
We could do urgency all day long. That's like,
But I love this topic, and this is why I bring it up a lot, right? Because the difference between a sense of urgency, which means we really care about this, we definitely want to get this thing done, and hurrying and rushing, which could lead to accidents, is just a really nuanced thing. And I just wanted to bring it up because I felt like it was important to you. One last thing, and then I'll let you guys go. What's the deal with the giraffe? Like, what's the deal?
Giraffes go everywhere that we go. Now, the YuLife mascot, the YuLife emblem is Yugi the giraffe. And giraffes actually are a fascinating animal. They have the largest heart of any land animal. And fundamentally, at its core, insurance is about heart. It's about love. It's about caring for people. And so having Yugi the giraffe as emblematic of what we're building, seeing above the trees, having perspective, resonated very, very deeply with us setting out this business, thinking, what do we want to represent in the market? What do we want to mean to our customers? And a giraffe, the largest heart of any land animal, perspective, seeing above the trees, really felt core to who we are and what we wanted to build.
Yeah. That's the perfect way to end. Sam Fromson, a co-founder and the chief operating officer at YuLife, and Stephen Barnham, global chief digital and information officer at Dai-ichi Life Holdings. You guys, that was awesome. Thank you so much for doing that.
Michael, thank you so much. Stephen, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Bye, great.